Welcome back. This is Davies one more time live here at channel ATV. I am honored and privileged to introduce to you. Most of you folks know who she is. She is my truly older sister from Zambia, Dr. Justina Mutale. She lives in the United Kingdom and she's done phenomenal work. I don't want to talk about most of the stuff that she's done, but this is a special edition programming that we have with exactly what's going on in the country right now and in the world right now. So we are privileged to feature someone who can give us a different perspective as a woman and a different perspective as well from a different part of the world. So without wasting too much of your time, I'm going to introduce one of my mentors, one of my friends, one of my sisters, and this woman is just dynamic, like I said before. And if you guys get an opportunity to talk to her, maybe if time allows, we should give folks a chance to be able to ask some questions and stuff like that. So I want to welcome my sister, Dr. Justina Mutale. So stay tuned as I bring her back in the feed right here in Seattle, Washington. Dr. Justina Mutale, welcome. Can you hear me well?
Hello, Davies. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to come onto your wonderful platform.
You are welcome. You are welcome. It's good to see you. You look beautiful. I like the background, and you know, it looks like we set it up, but you know, I just told you, and it just happens like that, right?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. I just want to say, you know, Zambia is proud of you. Africa is proud of you, and you know, we are all proud of you for all your accomplishments. And it's a very special moment for me to be able to get the opportunity to talk to you, especially that I have a daughter myself, and you know that she looks up to you and many others. And so when crisis happens, you know, a pandemic like this happens, you know, folks look to leadership to try and figure out, you know, how can we move past what's going on. So I want to hear a lot of your perspective from you as a leader and as a woman and as a mother. You know, I think that's important. So without taking too much of your time, I wanted to dive into the program. So if you can please just introduce yourself to some of the folks that have never had a chance to talk to you or even meet you. Please introduce yourself.
As you all can see, my name is Justina Mutale. I am a humanitarian at heart. I'm also a gender activist. I advocate for the achievement of gender equality and the empowerment of women. I'm also an ambassador for peace. So as a humanitarian, I'm trying to seek to help people that find themselves in problems and also to seek peace into the world so that we can all live as one big happy family.
Right. That's a great introduction.
And I ran two organizations.
Go ahead.
I ran two organizations to that effect. I have the foundation, which is called the Justina Mutale Foundation. That's to empower women and girls to get into leadership positions. We also have a scholarship program for underprivileged young women from Africa to go to university around the world. I also have a Positive Runways, the global catwalk to stop the spread of HIV and AIDS we started, but then we've been able to work with several other campaigns to try and stop any negative vices that impact negatively on the young people and also on society at large. Before that, prior to that, I spent almost 20 years working in the Commonwealth Secretariat, which is a diplomatic and international development setting, working on lots of different things to do with development, but the final 10 years were spent in the gender section, dealing with issues to do with gender. So that's how come I'm still advocating for gender equality.
And rightfully so. I want to take you back before we dive into the details of you know, what we're talking about today. But you know, what happened to you? I mean, did you just wake up one day and say, you know what, I want to be an ambassador or I want to inspire folks? And you know, how did you get to be where you are right now?
Well, I have given briefly a brief background of some of that. Like I said, I worked in the Commonwealth Secretariat, and it's an intergovernmental international development organization where members of the Commonwealth member countries help each other. They give each other technical assistance. If a country needs some help with some of the work that they are doing, you look around and find experts to go and help them with that. And also, for example, we also try to articulate the mandate of the United Nations and follow the development program that the United Nations give to the world. For example, we worked on the Millennium Development Goals, and now the Commonwealth also seeks to work on the Sustainable Development Goals. So I worked in there and I traveled the world and met a lot of people, made a lot of networks. But on the side of that, I was also, I am from Zambia. So I started a beauty pageant called Miss Zambia UK Beauty Pageant. This was to profile Zambia and its people.
Right.
And at the back of that, I had the, I did that for the benefit of HIV/AIDS orphans. You know, in the 1990s, Zambia, just like any other African country, was very badly affected by the scourge of HIV and AIDS.
That's
so
right.
Along those lines, some of my efforts that I was both working in the Commonwealth and as well as advocating for the welfare of HIV/AIDS orphans, I got recognition as I went along, and somehow I find myself in all these places. For example, when I got when I was honored as African Woman of the Year, I had already started the Positive Runway Global Catwalk to stop the spread of HIV.
All right, we lost you there for a little bit.
How come they selected me and not anybody else? And they
Right.
said to me, because my efforts are done on my own 2 feet. And most of the other nominees had the system behind them because some of them belong to government.
Right. I think we lost you there for a minute. Probably check your microphone just to make sure that you still have it.
Just 1 minute.
Go ahead. Go for it. So for those of you that are joining us right now, we're having a great conversation with our lovely sister, Dr. Justina Mutale, all the way from the United Kingdom. And this is a special program because we're trying to get the perspective of everybody, regardless of where you are and where you live, to see the impact that COVID-19 is causing in different parts of the world. So our conversation this evening or this afternoon is really to hear a different perspective from someone from the different part of the world, first of all, and a person who is dealing with things on a different level, on a higher level, if you will. So, Dr. Justina, I wanted to find out from your perspective, you being a woman from Africa, and your interest has always been Africa and everywhere you live and everywhere you go. So, but mostly Africa is always, at heart, right? So, when you talk about social distancing with stuff that's going on right now, in Europe, you can probably exercise that a little bit different compared to in Africa, right? So from your perspective, knowing what you know about Africa, the infrastructure, the economy, and all that stuff, so how are we going to accomplish, the practicing social distancing, and then at the same time make that choice whether you have to drink your water or you have to wash your hands, for example. So how would people move forward when they have nothing when it comes to social distancing?
First of all, I just want to say that coronavirus has taken the whole world by surprise. It's caught everybody unawares, including all heads of government. All governments around the world were not prepared. We're not prepared for coronavirus, and they all still up to now don't know how to deal with it. As it is in the UK or the USA, every day you have a press conference with new ideas come up. So everybody is trying to tackle this issue as we go along. It is a very sad issue, considering that the world has already got so many humanitarian issues to deal with. And to have this fall upon us at this time is quite heartbreaking, so to speak. As a humanitarian, it really touches my heart. And being from Africa, it's knowing the setup in Africa, the economic situation, as well as the socio-economic situations, the traditions and cultures, how frail the health systems are. Although at the moment, we haven't got that many cases in Africa. And in fact, we've got some of the lowest cases and lowest rates of death at the moment from the coronavirus. With some of the Africans, I think about 10 African countries, including Malawi and Botswana, have as yet not declared any cases, any confirmed cases. But that should not make Africa complacent, because we are one, Africa has a frail health system, and we need to put a lot of money. It will take a lot of effort to do that. But on top of that, remember, there are a lot of people with, and because of the frail health system, there are a lot of people with underlying health conditions.
Right.
Which underlying health conditions, of which, of course, it's been explained that coronavirus will affect most negatively on those that have got already existing underlying conditions. There's the issue of malaria. We've got people with asthma. We've got bronchitis, TB, diabetes, HIV, and AIDS. All of these things make it make African people very susceptible to catching the coronavirus very quickly, and perhaps not surviving it.
Right.
The solutions that have been suggested by the has been suggested by the global governments is, as we say in international development, one solution does not suit all.
Correct.
While it's okay in the UK to have a complete, we can have a complete lockdown and still survive in the UK because of the efforts that the government will put in, because of the way the system is set, because of the size of the economy that the UK has got. For example, the UK has put in stimulus to fight the scourge of coronavirus at about 330 billion to cushion the economy, to cushion people's jobs, to cushion people's welfare. In my own country, Zambia, so far the Zambian finance minister has only put aside allocated 2.5 billion kwacha, which is about 140 million US dollars. Nigeria have put up about 2 trillion 100 billion naira, which comes to about 2.7 billion. So you can see the discrepancies here.
Right. Right.
But this is according to how much money we have and what our GDP is, and that is what we can afford. But then we with all those efforts, some of the issues that the citizens can take upon themselves, issues of social distancing.
Right.
It might work in the UK, it might work in the USA, but this will not work in Africa. It won't work in Africa because one of the infrastructure and the way the whole setup or there's no social welfare there, and the socio-economic condition where some people they're overpopulated in urban areas. And you find that those that find themselves in shanty towns, for example, in Soweto, some people, they would share one room. There'll be about a family of 5 sharing one room, and they've nowhere to go. You also find street children, these street children who came up as a result of HIV and AIDS, whose parents died from HIV and AIDS, and they ended up on the street. They have nowhere to go. In the UK, because it's a developed economy, they've been able to pick up all the people that sleep around the streets and take them to hotels. But this is not, the homeless people, yes. But this is something that African countries cannot be able to afford, not even South Africa, which has a better economy than most of the African countries. And also Nigeria is just totally overpopulated, and we don't know where to take people and how to handle this social distancing, which is totally impossible to practice. And the issue of washing hands, Africa already has a scarce of water resources, and so people would have to, people will have to choose between using the water to wash their hands or to drink that water. So washing hands and all these new new ways of hygiene to try and preventative measures to try and prevent contracting the coronavirus will just not work in Africa. We have to find a different way. If possible, the best thing for me would be if we can prevent it entering the continent. It has already entered, and if we can try to contain it. But to expect citizens and the populations to be able to control that through social distancing or washing hands, that's practically impossible.
Okay, that's a very good opinion from your perspective, and it's important, for you, for those of you guys that are tuning in, from all over the world, this is a different perspective from because when you practice social distancing here in the United States or in the UK, it's a totally different game when you go to Africa, because like you said, it's a matter of choosing life or death. Would you wash your hands or drink that water? Because if you wash your hands
Yeah.
without water, then you go without water. So you have to make that choice right there and then. Now, if you had an opportunity to talk to, of which you have access to folks that are in power right now, like in the government in Zambia and stuff like that, or even other parts of Africa, if you are given that opportunity to offer solutions, what would be other solutions that you could suggest when it comes to facilitating or combating COVID-19 right now? What would you suggest? What would you say to, for example, the president, if you had the opportunity to talk to him? What would you suggest as part of the solution?
I think this is an issue that not one president can resolve. For example, in the UK already, our prime minister has been affected. He's now in isolation because he was showing mild symptoms of having this. And so is his also his health secretary. So and because this is a global issue that has affected everybody around the world. Remember, that has affected everybody around the world. I think the best thing would be for the whole world to come together and find global solutions on how this can be done. So that, for example, if the UK, because they have a lot of money and they are able to get rid of coronavirus in the UK, and then Africa still has some, the virus will make a 360-degree turnaround and come right back to the global north if the global south is not sorted out. So I don't think this is an issue that should be left to individual heads of state. I think that groups like the United Nations, they all need to come together. The United Nations Secretary General, in fact, has also called for humanitarian funding for about $2 billion to try and help countries, poor African countries and other poor parts of the world to try and handle the coronavirus. Still, that is not enough. We've had some philanthropists like Jack Ma try to contribute, Bill Gates try to contribute. But the most important thing is this is the time when the world needs to get together to try and work on this. As I said, this caught the world by surprise. The president of Zambia has been caught by surprise, just like any other president, just like the president of the United States and the prime minister of the UK or the chancellor of Germany. The best solution would be for the world to get together and try to eradicate this virus. Because if we do not, we risk it coming back. It could mutate in another form and still come back.
Still come back,
So we can't leave it to individual heads of state, no.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So, going forward, we also have to think about solutions. What's going to be the post era of once we combat this. So now what do we do? Because there are different things that are being affected. You talk about the economy, infrastructure, and even just hospitals. You've seen conflicting images of folks saying, they don't believe that this is accurate. This is a false narrative. This is political. This is not real. And so what would be your perspective if you met someone who just totally just avoids the whole narrative of saying this is a real deal? Because we've interviewed folks that still believe in conspiracy theories, and are thinking this is something that's generated. From your perspective, what would you say to someone who is still in denial that this is not real as far as what's going on in the world?
Well, there's a term that I heard: follow the science. Follow the science. See how things are happening. And like I said, I think every one of us will be affected. There are a few people that have been mentioned, that I've heard of, that have recently just lost their lives, who are related or connected to some of my networks, who have lost their lives because of the virus. And I've said our prime minister is also affected. So it is there. It is very much there. What we people need to know is to try as much as possible to avoid contracting it. And like I said, I go back again, the world governments just need to get together and work together. This virus, as I said, caught the world unawares. It has put the world on a standstill. The whole world is in lockdown. The world economy has gone into free fall. Businesses, big businesses and small businesses are closing. People are losing their lives. People are losing their lives, but also people are losing their livelihoods. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are losing their livelihoods as well. Hotels, restaurants, everything is closed, is closing and shutting down. Multinational organizations, including McDonald's in the UK, has closed down. So when you see something happening at such a big, huge scale, this magnitude, you know that this is real. This is real, and we all have to put our heads together and see how are we going to get out of this. And if we talk about post-COVID era,
right.
I think one thing that has come out of this, as it is, I understand that the sign for crisis in Chinese has got two strokes. One stroke says danger, and the other one is for opportunity. So what opportunities are we going to get out of this? One, the world, by the time we finish this, hopefully, would have made their health systems better. No country was prepared. For example, China had to build a new hospital just to handle the virus. In the UK, we have had to take one of our biggest convention centers to turn it into a hospital at Excel Center, which we are now calling Nightingale Hospital. I understand in the US, they are going to use the Central Park.
Yeah, they've already created in New York. Mm-hmm.
Yes, in New York. So you can imagine if big developed economies like these have to find new places to build new hospitals in order to handle this. What about the ones in Africa who've always already been had a frail health system? So perhaps after this, we would have brilliant or would have the kind of health systems that the world can depend on should anything like this try to occur again.
Absolutely.
Another thing with the lockdown, we are all trying to become very innovative. There's innovation coming out of it. For example, we are doing this program together instead of you waiting for me to come all the way to Seattle. We are all going to be working virtually. Conferences are being held on Zoom, and a lot of things, online schooling, online training. Universities, students from the universities which are closed have been given work to work online. My daughter is working upstairs as we speak. So there are all these things. And another thing that has come out of this as a humanitarian is that the United Nations Secretary General has asked for a ceasefire of armed conflict.
Right.
So it looks like all the efforts have now been drawn, all the efforts and attention and focus is now on the coronavirus, and armed conflict has been, armed conflict has been requested to stop if there's such a thing, a thing as such. But also when we go back, there are a few people that are being left behind in this coronavirus issue. For us who are settled and have got homes, it is okay. But as a humanitarian, when you look at some of the humanitarian issues, for example, the refugees.
Right.
The refugees are having a problem and they have been left out, and they're in conditions where they have terrible hygiene. They don't have any proper sanitations, no water, just like most of the African countries, and there's no one to help them there. The International Organization for Migration has put the refugee program on hold because countries have closed their borders. Countries are closing their borders so that nobody can come in. So those refugees can't go anywhere. Funding for humanitarian activities is also being redirected because all donor countries have to use as much money as they have for their own, to help their own people, even though the United Nations has also requested for donations to make this humanitarian funding, humanitarian package of $2.5 billion. So it is quite, yeah. So in this, we do have the dangers, but we can also seize some opportunities out of there. The opportunities of the world coming together as one, of us realizing the African philosophy of Ubuntu, you are because I am, that we all belong to a greater whole, that humanity has got one bond. And what happens in one part of the world affects the rest of the world as well, in one way or another. And that is why we need to work very hard to try and eradicate the virus in each and every part of the world without choosing. Should we choose and leave one part of the world, it will come back to haunt us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very well explained. And this is a wake-up call, because I live in Seattle, where Bill Gates live here. You know that. Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation is located right here in Seattle, Washington. And if you look back in 2015, Bill Gates spoke about a scenario like this, where he broke it down exactly, how the world could be affected if there was a pandemic like this. And he laid it out, during one of the TED Talks, right? And, folks thought he's dreaming, and he's overthinking about stuff. And look at where we are now. So maybe we should pay more attention to the scientists and really truly believe in what we are going through. And like you said, this is a wake-up call for all of us. Now, you speaking about opportunities, you love to give opportunities to women, young women, older women, and you are an activist for women empowerment. Naturally, women are better leaders. Would you agree with me?
Yes, I would very much.
Okay. Okay. So do you suggest then that if women were given more opportunities in today's era, that could probably have the turnaround would have been a little bit different if women were given more opportunities to be in leadership? Because naturally, women speak about cleanliness. They're always taking care of business. They're always doing things that most of us sometimes ignore. Their attention to detail. So do you think if most governments involved women in their parliaments or in their governments, would that make a difference when something like this strikes in the world?
Yes, I believe that it would make a lot of difference. The studies and science and research have demonstrated over and over again that governments that have got a lot of women, in decision-making positions, are very progressive. I will give an example to start with. When we talk about Africa, for example, Rwanda. Rwanda has got the highest number of women in decision-making, political decision-making as members of parliament. At about, if my numbers serve me right, about 64 to 68% women in parliament. And also between 45 to 50% women in business. And you'll find that Rwanda is one of the fastest growing economies, one of the 6 fastest growing economies in Africa. And also to do with the coronavirus, as soon as the announcements were made and African countries started looking around on what they should do, Rwanda came up with a brilliant idea. They put running water taps in the streets where anybody can go and wash their hands, so they can keep to the motto of trying to wash your hands to try and avoid the coronavirus. Exactly. They've also had, I think they have had a bigger stimulus package or response, COVID-19 response package, because from what I read or heard on the news is that in Rwanda, the government is able to go around and give their citizens free food. This is something that my country cannot afford to do at the moment. And also, I just read that a very sad story yesterday, that the finance minister of Germany committed suicide.
That's unfortunate.
He said that he just couldn't work out how he was going to help his country with he was overwhelmed with the burden on his shoulders, trying to work out the economy and how he was going to help his people. That is what the story said, if the story was correct. So Rwanda is on top of things where the fight against the coronavirus is. And on top of that, when you look around at the moment, Rwanda is also the centerpiece of Africa. And it also looks, when you go to Rwanda, it looks better than some of the first world countries.
Absolutely.
But that
even
is because
though they went through a very tough time, not to cut you short, when you look at the history of Rwanda, for them to turn around and be a country that it is, today, it's just amazing to watch.
Yes, it is amazing. It is amazing to watch, but let me tell you what happened, because after the genocide, the population ratio tilted. There was where you found 40 to 60%, 60 women and 40. So most Rwandan women overnight found themselves being thrust in leadership positions where they took over the running of the family. Before that, for a Rwandan woman to try and go out and or to work or even own property, they needed permission from their husband. But there were no husbands now, so they just had to rise to the occasion. They become the managers. They had to run the businesses that were left by their father, their grandfather, their brother, or their uncle. So these women found themselves thrust in this position. What it shows is that when women are given an opportunity, they are able to rise to the oppositions and they can perform miracles. Another point I wanted to raise with as concerning the coronavirus, I've been reading that Germany has had the lowest number of cases and also the lowest, some of the lowest number of deaths.
Right.
And when you look around, Germany is led by a woman. So I sincerely believe that had this, and also when you look at women, women have got high emotional intelligence, and those that believe in spirituality, the feminine spirit is always about building the family, building the community, building the nation, working together, making things better for everybody. While the masculine spirit most of the time is about me, 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 me. It's about the self. So as a woman, as a women's advocate, as one advocating for gender equality, we are trying to fight for what we are calling a 50-50 planet, where we can have both the perspectives of the male gender and the female gender come together at every high-level decision-making table, because the world has for a long time been run on the perspectives of men. Look, it has been said that had the Lehman Brothers been Lehman sisters, we would have never experienced the economic crash of the year 2008.
That's right.
Because for somehow the male gender always has this competitive spirit, and then longing for instant gratification without due regard to what is going to happen to the rest of the world. So sometimes they can even just gamble away the world. So I sincerely do believe that had women been in leadership, this whole coronavirus thing would have been handled totally different. We have heard things where they are saying that China hid the magnitude of the magnitude of the outbreak. That's how come it has now come with so much vengeance to the other parts. Had China been truthful and prepared the rest of the country already? So I think, and also everybody just seems to be so totally lost. But as women, we are used to looking after the family. We are used to dealing with rivalry fights of our children in the family, trying to put everybody together. And we are always seeking for a win-win situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very well explained. And definitely women need to get more opportunities. And we're very grateful that, right now governments are changing. We are all learning from each other as we move forward. It's unfortunate because the last time I saw you, if I remember correctly, it was at the United Nations, right, in New York. That was the last time.
Yes.
So, and we're supposed to see each other again this year at the United Nations, and then everything is now canceled. You're supposed to present a program right here in the United States in New York. And so, what are some of the changes that you've made as far as tactics on how you inseminate your information to continue to inspire the masses, inspire women, like you said, So what are some of the things that you are doing right now with what we are going through as a world right now? How are you handling putting information and encouraging others? Are you having a lot of meetings? And as far as your foundation is concerned, how are you, what approaches are you using to try and continue doing your work that God asked you to do?
Yeah, like I say, like you said, yeah, it was just a week before we were due to leave to come to the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, that we were told that the meeting has been postponed because of the spread of the coronavirus. So we were all very prepared to do so many things. For example, my organization, we were going to launch the World Summit on Women and Girls. And this year, is a very significant year in the global feminist movement, because it marks 25 years since the Beijing platform for action. We were going to review that to see how far have we come, what have we done, what have we achieved, how far do we need to go, what do we need to do to get there. We were going to review all of these things, and which we didn't get a chance to do so. But we have continued. We hold some of these meetings via via Zoom, and we all everybody's connecting with each other using online and virtual meetings and things like that.
Right, right.
So yeah, and a few things have stopped. For example, face-to-face meetings. We can't do those things. We can't do any face-to-face meetings. We have to continue to do everything online for now.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you are joining us now, we're having a beautiful conversation here with Dr. Justina Mutale, all the way in the United Kingdom. She's a dynamic woman. She just laid out the platform on, from our perspective, on how we could have probably handled this. If more women were given opportunities, this could have been a different case. And I agree with you, because I think you guys are blessed with a different sense that we normally don't have as men. We focus on different things. But having said that, we have to move on, with life. And so tuning back a little bit. So what gets you excited? What are some of the things that you love to do as a human being? What do you enjoy to do? Because folks are trying to know. I've been getting messages to see, when they see you, always very, very passionate about different things. But what makes you happy as a person?
First, what makes me happy is a happy person.
Yeah.
I think humans are by nature happy. Right. And then happiness is within us. And I think we always need to dip into that natural self and be happy no matter how things are. Some people think that only until they are successful, they can be happy. But you have to be happy in order to be successful. So happiness comes first, because it's the natural being of people. So I love to see people happy. I love to network with people. To mix with people. Of course, I do. I love to dance. Yeah. As a woman, I also love to shop. So this lockdown is really doing impacting negatively on us, that we can't go out shopping.
Are you still practicing online shopping? You order your shoes and you find out it's the wrong size, but it's the right size, but you still send it back anyway.
It hasn't come to that as well as yet.
Yeah, it's really interesting. In my own family, sometimes I hear the knocks on the door, and I go and look in the people on the street. It's Amazon delivering something, and it could be I don't know, it could be shoes. But before it's different, because everything is different now. They just drop the package and off they go. They just knock and off they go. Because everybody's trying to be cautious. So I definitely appreciate your time for being here and sharing some of your experiences and also your thoughts on what's going on right now. So. You have a platform. You're connected to a lot of people that most of the folks need to hear from. I would suggest that maybe we do something, across two worlds, if you will. I'm in Seattle, you're in the United Kingdom. Maybe we should create opportunities for others through your foundation to where folks can connect with you, and probably we can bring them into the broadcast and you can talk to them, because some of the stories that are out there, especially with women, are just amazing. So what do you think we do something through your foundation to make sure that we give people opportunities, because not everybody has a platform to where they can, put their voices out there. What do you think about that thought?
Yes, that is something that has been in our plans, to have a platform where we can interview women, where we can be interviewing different powerful women in different places.
Right.
Yes. So that we can we can hear the voices of not just powerful women. There's the issue of also bringing out millennial voices, because as we go along, remember the current Sustainable Development Goals are concluding in the year 2030. So the millennials will be 30 by then. They will be the adults. They will be the leaders of the world. They'll be the decision makers. They'll be the policy makers. And we need to hear their voices. It will be their world. It will be their world after all. So we are thinking of bringing some kind of intergeneration discussions where we bring older women together with younger women to sit together and to plan out the future that we want.
Correct. No, that's incredible. For us, we're doing a special program. We're just getting the clearance with the parents. There'll be a show which I would love for you to be connected, to, because there'll be a bunch of young ladies. They're all teenagers who'll be calling in, and so we can hear the perspective from how they're dealing with this. Because sometimes we just focus on us as adults or women in general, or men, but we forget about the kids because they're also going through it as much as we are at the same time. So I want to thank you for your time, for sure. Those of you that are joining us, if you need to connect with Dr. Justina Mutale, please visit our website and just go to www.justinamutale.com or justinamutalefoundation.com, and you'll be able to connect with her. So for you, folks that are watching you right now, if they're trying to get in touch with you on social media, where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook under Justina Mutale. We also have a Facebook page for the foundation, Justina Mutale Foundation. We have a website, justinamutalefoundation.com. I have my own personal website, justinamutale.com.
Correct.
So you can also find us on Twitter at JMFL. You can also you can find us on Twitter on JMF Leadership, and you can also find us on Instagram at JMFL. Right.
So, and you're very interactive. You connect with folks. I've seen you're active on social media. So I would encourage you guys, if you're watching this and you're inspired by the story from our sister, Dr. Justina Mutale, please connect with her. She's always creating time to make sure that she responds to everybody. But I know you're busy. I know you got places you have meetings coming up. So I will let you go. But in closing, I want to give you the opportunity. What will be your last words to encourage someone who wants to grow up to be like you? And anything that you want to say from your heart, please.
I think the important point is that for that person to follow their passion, and realize their talents. It's been it's been said that if you enjoy what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. So you have to make sure that whatever you're doing is giving you joy. Because if your focus is on the reward, then you won't be able to go very far when the rewards are not there. But if it's your passion, if it's something that keeps you awake at night, and you are happy to jump out of bed and say, "Oh, I've got to put these notes down so tomorrow I can follow this up." That is the kind of thing that you need to do. Just follow your heart, follow your passion, and make sure that you follow it through. Focus on your goals and don't look at any obstacles.
Well, you heard it here from the lovely Dr. Justina Mutale. If you're out there listening, this is an opportunity for all of us because we are stuck in our homes anyways. So we might as well just use this time, positively and connect with the people that inspire us. I want to thank you for definitely tuning in. For those of you guys that are watching from Africa, from Europe, thank you so much. And right here in the United States and the United Kingdom as well. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to talking to you again. And hopefully, this whole thing can be behind us so we can see you back at the United Nations when you're available. Thank you so much. And God bless you. And please say hello to the family.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
God bless you. You are tuning in right here at Channel ATV. Thank you so much for all the encouraging words. We are so inspired by you. God bless you, and we'll be seeing you soon. Take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in today. This has been our presentation of Channel ATV, and we had a great conversation with the lovely Miss Justina Mutale. Again, if you need to connect with her, just visit our website, www.justinamutale.com. And if you need to follow us at channelatv.org. Thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll be seeing you soon.